classrooms. This is co-authored by myself, Hajar Mahfoodh, Sophia Hashim, and Shadia Al-Hashimi. We are all from the University of Bahrain. So, before we speak about anything, we need to explore a little bit what's collaborative writing briefly. Collaborative writing is an effective pedagogical method that employs critical thinking and collaboration in second language classrooms, where a group produces a single text together. It fosters deep learning in students or among students through self-assessment and peer review within the team. Second language collaborative writing could also reveal the development of critical thinking skills among students. It could improve autonomous education and reflection on their performance during a given task or project. This research is going to address the main issues that emerge when incorporating collaborative writing in L2 classroom in higher education context. In order to explore the effectiveness of implementing group work in second language writing classes, in order to improve students' critical thinking skills, we pose the following questions for our research. Question number 1, how can collaborative work improve writing skills and fluency in second language classrooms? Question number 2, to what extent can collaborative work improve students' second language critical thinking skills beyond language problems? Question number 3, what are the common overlooked issues that could improve the efficacy of implementing collaborative writing in L2 classes? As for our theoretical context, this paper is situated within the theoretical discussions of implementing 21st century demands, which stress adopting 21st century rubrics involving pedagogical practices that enhance students' skills in solving real-world problems, advanced technology incorporation and digital literacy, as well as critical thinking. It also adopts discussions exploring the adaptation of educational settings to meet the real marketplace in the globalized and digitalized 21st century. The primary argument concerns integrating critical thinking and collaboration skills in collaborative writing in L2 settings, where students can receive and provide as well multi-layered feedback, including feedback from student to student, student to educator, educator to student, and the digital assets to the students, among the other feedback network that we will shortly discover. The literature review that we have explored indicates a couple of findings. As for the advantages for implementing collaborative writings, including enhancing students' awareness of digital and social competencies and promoting reflective thinking through group discussions. For instance, in a study in South Korea, computer-mediated communication, CMC, was examined through the use of wiki and writing, and it exemplified positive interaction among students and high level of engagement. It also promotes a collaborative construction of knowledge through scaffolded interaction, especially when prompts are supported with clear-cut guidelines. Literature review also indicates that collaborative writing helps students improve their writing mechanics and fluency to produce coherent and logical or sound writing. Why? Because it simply facilitates peer negotiation, discussions, collective decision-making, and feedback, which all foster a sense of community, motivation, and engagement among learners of a second language. A study conducted on Moroccan L2 students found that students witnessed improvements in their motivation level, time management skills, self-organization, self-esteem, and adaptability by using project-based learning (PBL) through online coursework. Another research in the UAE also discovered that Google Documents, for instance, where Google Documents were involved in collaborative writing, have succeeded in increasing students' sense of motivation and boosted their self-esteem and L2 competence. However, literature review has also pointed out some disadvantages, such as the unequal participation among group members. This issue usually results from either shyness, introversion, or marginalization of certain students by dominant students who have strong leadership roles, or they sort of tend to be more dominant because of their outgoing nature. Some scholars also argue that collaborative writing might lead students to face difficulty in decision making. Why? It is related to leadership students, a situation that might lead students to getting confused, especially since they are not used to receiving multi-layered feedback from peers and instructors. So sometimes the feedback they receive is conflicting. What the team leader says is contradictory with what the teacher says, for instance, and so on. Finally, time constraints in the classroom, particularly for students who require time to engage in meaningful discussion within a limited time frame of collaborative writing activity, could also threaten the effective implementation of collaborative writing in L2 classroom. In short, one needs to address issues and look into methods to improve implementing online collaborative writing, which is highlighted in one of the literature review studies that you can find attached to this presentation or in our paper. Now, mainly, scholars call for just paying further attention to students' needs. For instance, we have to think from the beginning whether the classroom needs proficiency level, to work on their proficiency level, their learning style, motivation level, and so on. And we have to pay attention to the task type, whether it's form-focused or meaning-focused. Now, despite the plethora of research on collaborative writing in L2 classrooms, there remains a constant need for continued research in the field to keep pace, with the rapid technological changes and advancement. So as long as technology is changing, we have to also adapt our methods of teaching to cope with these changes. Our methodology in this research employs a mixed methodology. Quantitative and qualitative data was gathered, and it involves 3 L2 classrooms in higher education, each with around 30 first and second year students, and writing courses on paragraph structure, and is structured into 3 stages. So the whole research was of 3 stages. Stage 1 involved group work in L2 writing classes to observe students' development when producing a text. Students used a checklist, peer review, and the teacher's feedback to validate the observation stage, as well as, when they wrote on their on Word and, on Blackboard, they had also the chance to receive the feedback from the computer, from the, another form of feedback, the digital feedback they can receive. In stage 2, there was a group meeting between the teachers or the researchers and each group individually to reflect on the student's experiment. And every student had to develop self-assessment using a checklist. And at this stage, they had to also develop a checklist for them that is customized for their needs whenever they have to produce a paragraph in the future. In stage 3, students were required to correct an assignment independently and not in groups, using the checklist they have come up with and referring to their notes from stage 2. The feedback from the students is then categorized into 3 themes that focus on the effectiveness of implementing collaborative writing in the L2 classroom. As you can see with me in the statistics, in the groups, the majority of the students participated in peer review, and they tried to follow the rubrics, as you can see, um, which indicates that collaborative writing motivates engagement. It stimulates engagement, whatever it is. However, you can notice in the columns of introverts and passive students, we have just a couple of them. And I should acknowledge that they tried to participate and they gave also their feedback, but it was very, very, very minimal. Um, in stage 2, as you can see in the slide, which displays the students' reflection on their collaborative writing experience. This was conducted through the meeting with each group. You will notice that most of the feedback is positive. For instance, if you see with me line 1, 2, and 3, the points 1, 2, and 3, I learned to ask my friends to read my assignment and provide feedback. I learned to learn from my peers, correction and notes. I learned to align my writing with the rubrics. I learned to understand question and how the teachers correct our questions and so on. So, these show us that they entered the phase of deep learning, but at the same time, they improved their critical thinking because now they understand that when you draft a paper, it means you have to read again and find mistakes and correct it until you make a somehow perfect paper. Um, but there are still some underlying pitfalls, as you can see in the last three lines. Basically, issues with time and negotiations. So they did not spell them out as problems, but they give us like what they learned. For instance, team work saves time, but we need to agree first, which indicates that agreement is like a hurdle for them. And then some also students said that I should learn how to communicate without conflicting. So this is touching the negotiation skills. And again, this is part of critical thinking. And the last one, I should read my writing before submitting it to my teacher. And for me, this is like the whole cherry that I got from this experiment because, it showed that, okay, they understood that we as human beings, we commit mistakes, but we can correct them. In stage three, students had to do their own work independently. So they were given a paragraph and they had to correct it and then develop the paragraph, in a new form. So after they fix all the mistakes. They drafted basically a letter of apology and it was marked out of 10. First, they were given, like a horrible example. They had to correct it, and then out of that scratch, they had to develop the new one. And it was very impressive that a lot of them scored 8 to 9.5 out of 10, and five only had partial completion, 6.5 to 8, which is not bad. And only three students across all the classes, so across around 90 students, only three students scored 4 to 5. So, the researchers, my colleagues, and I thought like, okay, this is working in improving students' performance. Now, we tested the effectiveness of collaborative writing, and we noticed the following. Some students, while they were doing the task, asked their peers to read the task before they submitted it. And this was allowed for us, because we wanted to see how they are going to behave. Some students asked their peers or educators to explain certain parts, and this was testing the introverts and shy students how they will behave. Most students followed the guidelines and rubrics point by point, which is great, and most of them used their checklist, and most introverts and passive students engaged with the questions and provided satisfactory task accomplishment. Discussion. Based on the findings and analysis, the research identified three themes as defining characteristics of collaborative writing in L2 classroom. The first one is collaborative writing in L2 classroom enhances communication skills. The second one, collaborative writing in second language classroom develops interpersonal skills. And collaborative writing, uh, collaborative writing in second language classroom improves critical thinking skills. Now, all these skills are related to this 21st century skills. And also, I should point out that they are also related to the real world problems and aligning them with the marketplace demands. Our conclusion. So, first of all, we noted that there are some limitations. For instance, it would be interesting to compare the results when applying the same experiment to seniors and not freshmen. But what we found is that, it was worth. Students experienced deep learning and learned how to correct the assignment. They improved their communication skills. Small groups created an accommodating environment, especially for shy students. Students demonstrated that group work enhances critical thinking skills. And then students had the opportunity to discover their leadership and time management skills. This is a sample of our selected references, which you can see in our paper. And thank you for your time. Hope I did not take a lot of our time.
No, that was great.